I'm here with Governor Greg Abbott and parents in support of education savings accounts. We have Monica Hess and her 7-year-old son Kenneth, Shanera Morrison and her 11-year-old son Gavin, and Celeste Green and her 7-year-old daughter Heike. Thank you all so much for being with us. Governor, we're going to begin with you. You've made it clear that this is the priority this legislative session, passing education savings accounts. You have parents on board with the plan here. What do you say to parents and teachers who maybe are not on board? We've heard from some who are concerned about what this could mean for public schools.
Well, for one, I'm supporting school choice because I visited with parents like this across the entire state of Texas, and they have a hunger and a need for school choice for the children. Listen, the reality is one size does not fit all when it comes to education. There are families that have 2 or 3 or 4 kids, and a public school may be right for one, but a private school may be right for another, homeschool may be right for a third, and no one knows better what's right for their child than their own parent. But listen, I know because of false information out there, there are a lot of concerns that either parents or teachers may have. Let me allay those concerns real quick. For one, people may be concerned, oh gosh, school choice is going to decimate our public schools and destroy them. Nothing could be further from the truth for 2 reasons. One, we're going to fully fund public schools this session, providing more funding than ever before and a higher teacher pay raise than ever in the history of our state because we want the best teachers in our classrooms and our public schools. Second, we're going to have separate pots of money, one for public schools, one for school choice. We're not going to take a single penny from public schools to pay for school choice. And the last thing is this, the size of the program is smaller than the charter school program in the state of Texas. Charter schools haven't destroyed public schools, neither will school choice. Another way people should see this, and that is more than 30 states in the United States, they already have school choice, and it hasn't destroyed public schools in those states. And in fact, the state with the largest school choice program in the United States ranks #1 for public education in the United States. You can have both great public schools and good school choice. Brings me to my last point. My real goal here, in addition to helping these parents, is to put Texas on a pathway to being ranked #1 for educating our kids.
Governor, I want to follow up on something you mentioned there, 2 pots of money. Why not just put the $1 billion into public schools? Many of them are financially strapped.
Because we're going to be putting far more than $1 billion into public schools. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be fully funding public schools. We will be providing the largest increase to public education than ever before. Per pupil funding will be at an all-time high. Teacher pay will be at an all-time high. So we will use all the funds necessary to ensure that we are fully funding public education and ensuring that our public schools will be competitive with private schools and with homeschools.
Celeste, why are you on board with education savings accounts?
Well, I have 5 kids. I am a second-generation homeschooler. It all started back when I was a child in Oregon. We homeschooled there because homeschooling was illegal in Texas at that time, and we've come a long way. When my oldest son Joseph was in junior high, he experienced violence, and I was unable to resolve that, so I had to take him out of school. I also worked at that time as a forensic psychologist, and I was fortunate enough to be able to quit my job and homeschool him. There were no other school districts to transfer him to, and the local Catholic school didn't have any openings. So, homeschooling was the only other option there. And so that was okay. I felt confident homeschooling my child, I felt confident with my ability to teach him, the education savings account would help us.
Shanera, I want to come to you on the topic of the amount of money. $10,000 is roughly what it's going to be, could be if it passes. Is that enough money, do you think, for what you would like for your child?
As I've said many times before, anything helps. Whether it's $1 or $50 or $10,000. Anything towards my son's education is beneficial for me and for him.
Governor, I want to come to you on this question of equity. The $10,000 might not really cover tuition at a lot of schools around the state, and a lot of cities around the state don't even have private options. What do you say to those parents?
Well, again, that's a lot of false information that needs to be corrected, because the fact of the matter is I've researched the issue. And most private schools across the state of Texas, they cost less than $10,000. That point aside, there are many others that may cost more than $10,000, and they would be willing to provide a scholarship that would make up the difference. This is going to provide unbelievable access, unprecedented access. There's something else, though, and that is when a program like this is created, that will lead to the creation of some new schools that can provide that opportunity. Another falsehood is, well, there's rural regions of the state of Texas where this simply is not available. And that's untrue in so many regions of the state of Texas that are rural that I've been in. I'll give you Athens, Texas as one example. I was at a school there. Athens has a population of about 12,000 people. And yet they have a private school that parents needed to take their child out of public school because the child in first grade was coming home from school repeating 4-letter cuss words. And parents knew at that time it violated their values, and they wanted to move their child into a setting that reached his values. And there was a private school like that there in Athens, Texas, in Alpine, Texas, and small little towns across the state. There are many opportunities for school choice for parents.
You mentioned the research that goes into building a massive program like this. What does the private school community say to you? Are they ready for this? Are they ready for the influx? Because it is up to them whether to accept these children or not.
The private school community is hungry for this because they know that they provide an important value to the education equation. One is because of the type of education they provide. Another is because different schools meet different needs of different parents. You know, one school is, again, doesn't matter if it's public or private, one size is not going to fit all for every student. But we know there's going to be schools out there that will meet the needs of all these students. But there's something else that is very important here, of what we found in other states that have school choice. And that is when school choice is entered into the education equation, it means that the private schools do better. It means that the public schools do better because there's competition involved. Competition makes everything better, including education, and that's what we want. We want the best education product in the United States. School choice is a pathway to achieve that excellent product.
Many private schools are attached to a church or a religious organization. Do you worry that this blurs the line between church and state?
The United States Supreme Court made clear that it does not. And so there's no constitutional issue here whatsoever. What is at issue here, however, is that there are some parents, they want their children to learn more than just their ABCs. They also want their children to learn values. Some parents are able to achieve that by homeschooling. Other parents are able to achieve it by finding a school that's right for the child that will also teach values. One thing our country needs at this time, and that is character development by our children. And character development can be done through schools that educate students about more than just math and science, but also genuine values that will make them stronger participants in our democracy.
But what do you say to parents who feel like public money shouldn't be subsidizing religious teachings?
So the fact of the matter is the Supreme Court has ruled on that issue. What the Supreme Court ruled was actually the opposite, and that is to exclude schools because of religion would be violating the Constitution. And so what we have to do, we have to make school choice available to all schools out there that are accredited, by the way, in order to qualify. But for all accredited schools in the state of Texas, they will provide an option for parents to choose the pathway that's best for them, understanding this very important point. And that is, all of these parents right here, they know far better what their children need than does any educator, any principal, any administrator. We put the power of parents first, which, by the way, when you have engaged parents, that almost always leads to a better education outcome for children.
You campaigned against members of your own party who opposed this plan in the last legislative cycle. Millions of dollars was spent, some of your own time was spent at these campaign events. Why is passing this so important to you? Is it something personal?
It is important to me as governor because one of my goals, in addition to the trophies behind you that show that Texas ranks #1 for economic development for 13 years in a row, I have a responsibility as governor for Texas to rank #1 for education for 13 years in a row. And so I will continue my mission until we achieve that goal. And then in addition to that, I've talked to these parents who are with us today. I've talked to thousands of parents across the state. Parents are hungry for this. In ballot initiative after ballot initiative, voters have said they want school choice. In Texas, every demographic group, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, urban, suburban, rural, doesn't matter who you are, where you are in the state of Texas, majorities of Texans want school choice. It's time for school choice to pass in Texas.
We've only got a couple of minutes left here. Governor, you mentioned voters want this. Why not just put the creation of the program itself up to voters?
That's the way California is run. They have ballot initiatives on so many laws, hundreds of laws. Let me tell you something. One thing I will achieve as governor is to make sure Texas never becomes California.
Monica, I'll give you the last word here. For those still unconvinced and those who feel like maybe this isn't the best thing for the state, it's not the best thing for our public schools, what do you say?
I would say consider that every family, just like those of us up here in the state of Texas, deserves to have the right to choose what's best for their child and their family. And we appreciate the governor helping us to achieve that.
Okay, Governor, any parting words on the topic for those who are unsold?
People try to cast school choice as choosing either school choice or supporting public schools. That's a false choice. We're doing more this session than ever to support our public schools with more pay for teachers, with more funding for schools, as well as creating a school choice program for parents who have found that their local public school, for whatever reason, just does not work for their child. We're going to empower those parents, we're going to empower our public teachers, and we are going to put Texas on a pathway to being ranked #1 in the United States for educating our children.
All right, Monica Hess, Shanera Morrison, and Celeste Green, thank you so much for joining us. Governor Abbott, thank you so much for your time.